Hey folks, welcome to this follow-up video for our Making the Isle of Dread map in Worldographer. I'm Joe Wetzel, the creator of the program, and in session 1 we got to the point of having all of the land. We did skip in the video doing the whole coastline stuff, which is really just a matter of clicking points to cover up some of the land so that you have this nice curve to your coastline. And then likewise clicking points to make these coral reefs and such were things that we fast forwarded through or skipped over depending. But what we left undone, let me go back down to our map here. Let's go back to trace underlay and let's set this back to 50% here so you can see the map underneath and the map that we created. So you're seeing 50-50. And we've got a number of symbols over here. I should point out again that this is Thorf who created this, and we'll put a link to his original map that we're then tracing over essentially. And his original map it looks to be really faithful to the map from the Isle of Dread module that I've got. I don't expect he took any liberties, but it doesn't look like he did. So we're going to fill in these remaining details. We didn't do these trails, for example. We didn't do villages and ruins and so forth. So let's pull some of that up. Some of those are going to be easy to start with. Let's do the features, and let's go, and we can filter here for village. And there's our different villages that we've got of a couple of different types, and we're going to pick this one here. And we have some options. We can anchor them to the center of a hex or not. I'm going to do place freely, which will allow them to be shifted a little bit. And I know that number 1 here is called, I don't want to spoil too much on it, but it's a village. Let's put it that way. It's marked on the map there, and it's a village. And so we can stick that village there. And based on Thorf's key here, you've got village. There are the circles. So let's just get those taken care of real quick. So we know this is a village here. And we know that we've got a few more villages down here of a few different types. So we get those in place there. And let's take care of this bridge that's right up here. So we've got a bridge icon, I believe. Yes, so we have a slightly different symbol for our bridge, but we can use it. And we'll stick that there. Now we have a way, so I can select it here. I'm going to select the bridge icon. Come on. Maybe I need to... There we go. Let's slide that away a little bit. Sometimes you need to slide one icon away a little bit to... okay, so we don't want to rotate it like that. We want to rotate it more like this. Okay, and then I'll just select the other icon again and move it back into place so we've got our village. Now we've got that trail down there as well, so we're going to go ahead and go to that, hit shapes, and it uses a dotted line for a trail. I can go either way. Sometimes I'll just do my trails in a brownish color as opposed to roads in a black or gray. But we'll use trail, the preset trail, just so I've got the tag set the way I want it. In these we can tag them, we can call it a trail. And the nice thing about calling it a trail is we can then filter for it later if we want to. Not terribly important to do. But anyway, so I'm going to set this to 5 as the width, and I'm going to set the color to black, and we're going to do the stroke type as a dotted line, and we'll see how this turns out. We'll set it as a line. We could do gentle curves as well, but I'm just going to do it as a line, and this way here. So we just click some points. If you want it to be more exact, you can just simply click more points to do that. Oh wow, this goes a ways. All right. I guess if the PCs get into this region, makes it a little bit easier If they find this, okay, it's going to this tar pit. Okay. It's been forever since I played Isle of Dread. All of it would be a surprise to me. But so you've got a nice big trail going there, and we've got a little offshoot. So now we deselect, so then we can start creating a new one, and we can create this other trail to that village as well. All right, so we've got those set in place. And then the other thing, the other icon that we had, so we did these caves. But then in addition to that, we have this square icon, and the square icon is ruins. So we're going to go to our features again and find ruins. And this is our settlement ruins. So we can just set that up there. And then we can look at what these other things are. So what is 2, and does it warrant an icon? And this is the GM's map, so we could, in fact, we can do something like we can use our GM only functionality so that we can spell that out, and then you can reveal using the Fog of War functionality, which we've got other videos on. You can reveal the map to folks as well. But we'll go ahead and do I have shark? No, we have fish though. We have shellfish. Okay. We have expansion icon packs as well for that kind of stuff. We could just put in a number to match what's in the book. But what I can do is some sort of danger icon, crossbones, underground battle, port. Yeah, don't want any of that. I know we've got this point of interest thing here. So we can put this here, and what we can do is in here with feature decorations, we can put in a number 2. We can say that it's going to be at the, let's do it at the 2 o'clock position, and let's make it black. And then what this is doing is it's going to stick that little 2 there. Oh, maybe we want it at the 1 o'clock position. Yeah, there we go. So we've got this little 2 here, and we can even go back to the prior one, this village, and here we can set it to have a 1 instead so that people know what it is. And we can go back to this, and to my point is you can go to the main details of it and set it to GM only. And the nice thing about that, let me deselect it. So then what I can do is if I turn off GM only here, it's going to disappear. So it's a nice little way of being able to give the players a view with all those things turned off. And there's also, like I said, the whole Fog of War functionality, which will let you highlight an area and either turn off the entire map except for that area, or to show all the map, to show that area only. All right, number 3 is another danger area point. So let's go ahead and just go to features again. And what I like to do, so we can pick this again, and we can set the decoration this time to be 3. And we can stick that there. So that tells us what that is. And then we can go into and look around for number 4 on the map. So we've got 5 and 6 and 9. There's 4. Number 4, nothing specific. So again, we're just going to use this point of interest thing as what's there. Oop, not 43, 4. All right, so then 5 is caves. So we can use a cave icon. So there I just filtered it by cave, and I can say that this one here is 5. If I can type straight. So we have 5 there for this cave here, and in this case we'll turn off the, no, we'll leave it on. It's not too distracting. We could turn on, it's a little big though for me, that particular icon. It's a little bit big for me, so I'll go back to here, we can override the default scale, and we can make it say 50% of a hex instead of, by default, it's probably like 75 or something. And I just think that looks better. Okay, number 6 had another thing there. So let's go back to our point of interest, not something specific. And let's undo our override the default. And we can put in number 6 here. And that's our number 6. And then number 7. Number 7 is a camp. So we can do this, and we can put in number 7 here. And that's what we can have here. And number 8, there it is, okay. So this here, we're going to do that same point, I guess, again. And it'll be number 8 this time. Number 9 is another camp. And I could have used the plain settlement camp versus the military camp. Now, in the first case, it actually is not exactly a military group, but something like it. This time, maybe it's a little bit less likely that you would call it military. Not trying to spoil it for anybody. So let's look around for number 9. There we go. There's number 9. Number 10. What are those? Okay, yeah, similar kind of thing. Maybe not as similar, actually, when I think about it, but anyway, it is a camp, and not maybe as militaristic. So that's that. Wow. I gotta say, just looking at all this, I wish I had an opportunity to play. I wish I had more time to play the module or run it either way. Maybe that's what I'll do. We're going to PAX Unplugged, and those of us working our booth are going to be looking for something to do, and maybe I'll do something like this. Now, the next one is a settlement. So we'll do, a village, I should say. So let's pull up this village, and this time we can make it number 11. And then 1, 2, 3. Where was 4 at again? Oh, we had 2 more villages I completely missed down there that are not labeled. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, so that's 11. So these 2 other villages, we're just going to turn this off. They don't have particular numbers. So we're just going to put those villages down there. Sorry about that. All right, number 12 is up there in those caves. And it already has a cave icon. We can just select the cave icon that's there. And we can set it to be number 12. And deselect it so we don't reuse the same number on the next one, or change this one when we're making the new one. All right, next one is a layer as well. So I'm going to, let's find number 13. Okay, so there's that. This is more of like, do we have a layer specifically? We have a monster layer. That icon doesn't quite work for me for this, so I'm going to just do the point of interest. And we're going to call it number 13. And, we don't, when I selected the cave from before, it picked up the details such as the size and hiding the terrain icon, which we did for those, but I'm not doing for these because these aren't really centered. Those caves over here were all centered, so I'm going to do place freely and GM only. And now I should go here, and come to think of it, we should go back here. These caves, all of them should be GM only. So we can do like a control click on these to get all of them selected and set them to GM only. Okay, now then I can just select one of the other things, so I pick up those attributes. All right, so now we're going to go on to 14, and we have another layer. And it's a creature type layer. Man, I gotta play this. I really do. Or run it. All right, and then we have another layer in 15. And 16. Oop, let's cancel that. 16 is another layer. Sure. 17. It's also a layer. 18. Another layer. Just different types of creatures for all these. 19, yes. Not really a layer, just a danger, but likewise, we're going to have... That's the advantage of using these icons that are just a point of interest. So 19 is that. 20. 20 is a big danger. Don't know if it makes sense as a point of interest or as a cave or caverns. Okay, it is caverns. So let's go back to cave. Let's pick a cave. Let's go back to the details here. Let's set the size, because I do think that it's too big. Setting the size to 50%. And place freely and all that. And then another layer for 21. I'm going to say that this is more village, partly for variety on the map, and partly because I do think that they are a little bit more a little bit higher chance of being civilized. So we'll go with 21. Oh, I need to go back to the details though and undo that. And so we got 21 here. Then 22 is back to a point of interest. 23 is just something random. So once I find it, there we go. We'll just change this to 23 and pick that. 24 is a big threat, but not something that we have a specific icon for, so we're going to put that down as 24. Yeah, so now that we've zoomed out, what I want to do is I actually did want to revise some of the terrain, because it just makes no sense to me how this terrain works or doesn't work sometimes. So this is going to be going non-standard, if you will. I'm just going to filter for jungle, because I want to change some of this jungle up. It makes no sense to me that we've got all this icon, all this huge jungle here, and none of it is like heavier than the rest. So I'm just going to say, hey, these two hexes are heavier than the rest. Oh, we missed a whole map area there. So let's shoot for making the coastline prettyifying the coastline. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of the other shapes, so I just inherit all the properties of it. I'm going to deselect that, and then we just, got to start a new polygon. So now I start the new polygon, and as you saw me do in the prior video, we just create the outline. Now right now that center area is all filled in, which is what we don't want. So what I do is I then wrap around in the opposite direction, and that gives me this. And then when I go back to trace underlay, if I set this to 100, and then turn that off too. Let's turn off, deselect that. So now you can see that it's not that nice, prettier coastline effect. And we've got a little bit of a denser area, which was what I was going for. And then I want to do the same thing just for variety. I feel like I need to pick a few. So we're just going to say that even though those guys are on the coast, we're going to say that they picked a little bit of a clearer area. And just for variety, change a few of these up here and there. Now over here, we can say, hey, this whole area, they made their trail in the less dense area, but they've got that there. And we can say, hey, one of these, say this guy here is a hill, just so that we've got something different. In fact, let's make a couple of hills there towards the center of the island, and maybe one like this. So it's not just, hey, it's just flat jungle. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And then down here, we can say that this is a more recent and doesn't have jungle down there. We can, in here, have a couple of, say these guys here are the jungle hills, and then we've got maybe this section is denser jungle, and likewise we've got some dense jungle here, but up here we're going to have some jungle hills next to those hills because it just makes more sense. We can even change up what these hills are. And then up here we've got swamp going straight to mountains. We don't really have anything that would offset or change those, but we can do more hills, tropical jungle hills here, like that. So we still are saying, hey, some of these get high above the tree line essentially. Yeah. But I just think that additional variety just makes the map look better and honestly probably more realistic. Now these mountains here, we can say most of that is above the tree line. I think that some of these things should be hills as well. So we've got all that. And then up here, same sort of thing here. We can make some of this into jungle mountains even. Here's our jungle mountains. Just surround it there with jungle mountains and then do jungle hills here. So then we've got a little bit more variety to our map here. Likewise, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that this is jungle. It could be that there's jungle up in the mountains, and it makes sense that those would be this. And then here, we can do some jungle hills. Change that one. That gives you that additional variety. Now, in some of these cases, we're above the tree line. There's not as much jungle, and in other cases, we are still below the tree line, but it's still mountainous. And versus hills. Yeah, I like the idea of you have these additional terrain types, which I honestly just don't think that they thought at the time, with this being a module printed in 1981, and all these other symbols came out later in the middle 80s or later 80s as Mystara was continuing to develop the different gazetteers and the Voyage of the Princess Ark and those maps. Yeah, I'm much happier with this. So we'll have this as a download on worldographer.com. If you go there, at least currently, we'll probably, yeah, we'll link directly to the page it's on, and you just scroll down to the section, but it'll be in our examples area, and then there's a page for the various region maps or world kingdom maps, as we call them. And then you can get this map, you can get the image, or you can get the map itself. And like I said, you can, let me just go and do a file, save. Don't want to forget that. But you can use the fog of war functionality here, and we can select an area. And so say the players make landfall down here. Let's just pick a random coast kind of thing, but we can do this. And so we can select this area and say, okay, this is the area that they know. And we can say, hide all but the selected area. Oh, and then if I could turn off show for the GM only, they're only going to see that. And then as they explore, say they go up here, I can select a new area up here, and I can say, okay, now show that area. And we can scroll through, and I can turn off that select. But that's the way that you can use this functionality. And because we also turned off GM only, if there's anything there, like I'm pretty sure there was, they won't see that. But if I do click on show for my purposes, we're going to see the whole map, plus we're going to see this cavern. But if I turn it off, then the players see just what their characters would know. They would, as they go through a hex, you can even do it with a very small amount, like as they say they went to this tar pit hex and you just want to turn on the immediate adjacent hexes, you can then show those and continue your exploration that way and share a map with your players. In fact, I might even do this on Discord myself, where we're all on chat on Discord, and I can reveal it, take a screenshot, post it in the Discord. We're good. All right, enough of that. Hope you found this all useful. Hope the map helps you out. Hope you learned something using the program. And check out our next video. Make a suggestion of what map you might like to see next. Thanks.